Not because resting is wrong. When you try to rest, the guilt often arrives before the relief. But because something inside you is trained to believe it is. Long before you had language for burnout or mental health, you were learning rules without realizing it. Rules about worth. Rules about love. Rules about when you were allowed to stop. You learned that resting meant being weak. That slowing down looked like giving up. That pausing would disappoint someone you needed approval from. No one may have said these words directly, but they were absorbed through tone, silence, and expectation. So now, as an adult, your body asks for rest, but your nervous system hears danger. It remembers a time when stopping meant losing safety, belonging, or praise. This guilt does not mean you are lazy. It means you were responsible too early. It means you learned to survive by staying useful. Every time you sit still, that old lesson wakes up. It whispers that you should be doing more, being more, holding everything together. The guilt feels personal, but it isn't. It is inherited conditioning, a habit formed to protect connection, even at the cost of yourself. Even at the cost of yourself. You learned, slowly and quietly, that love had conditions. Not because anyone meant to hurt you, but because care often arrived only after effort was proven. You were praised when you did well. You were noticed when you helped. You were valued when you carried more than your share. And over time, something subtle formed inside you. A belief that being loved required performance. So you tried harder. You became reliable. You learned how to sense what others needed before they asked. And each time love followed your effort, your nervous system recorded the pattern. Connection comes after contribution. Rest, then, began to feel dangerous. Because resting meant you were not producing, not helping, not holding things together. And if you were not doing those things, what reason would anyone have to stay close? This is how the thought takes root. If I stop, I lose my value. So when you try to rest, it doesn't feel like care. It feels like risk. Like stepping away from the role that kept you seen, needed, and safe. In this place, rest is no longer neutral. It feels like abandonment, not of others, but of the version of you that earned love by trying. But of the version of you that earned love by trying. And that is why slowing down can ache so deeply. Because it asks you to trust that love can remain, even when you are no longer proving you deserve it. When you stay busy, there is very little space to feel. Movement fills the gaps, noise keeps things blurred, tasks create a sense of direction, even when you are exhausted. As long as you are doing something, you don't have to listen too closely to what is happening inside. But the moment you stop, the silence widens. And in that stillness, things become clearer, sometimes uncomfortably so. You notice how tired you actually are. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the deeper fatigue that comes from carrying yourself for too long. You notice a sadness without a clear story. A weight that doesn't have a name, yet has been present for years. And beneath it all, a hollow feeling. Not emptiness as absence, but as something waiting that was never given space to speak. This is often when guilt appears. Not because rest is wrong, but because feeling is overwhelming. The mind, trying to protect you, reaches for what it knows best. It pushes you back toward busyness, productivity, and distraction. Guilt becomes a signal to move again, to check something, to fix something, to prove usefulness once more. In this way, guilt is not punishment. It is avoidance. A learned strategy to escape the quiet where unprocessed emotions live. Rest does not create the emptiness. It reveals what has been patiently waiting beneath the noise. And that is why stopping can feel so frightening. Because it invites you to finally feel what you once had to ignore. You lie still, yet inside, something remains alert, scanning, tense. Thoughts keep moving even when your muscles are tired. Questions appear, doubts surface, a quiet urgency refuses to settle. You may feel anxious without knowing why. You may start criticizing yourself for resting. You may think about all the things you should be doing instead. Even in stillness, your system stays on guard. This is not restlessness by choice. It is a nervous system shaped by long periods of pressure. One that learned safety came from staying prepared, responsive, and useful. One that never experienced calm as a secure state. For a system like this, doing nothing feels unfamiliar. Stillness does not register as peace. It registers as vulnerability. As if something bad might happen the moment you stop paying attention. So the mind stays on duty. It monitors. It replays tasks. It creates guilt to keep you moving, because movement once meant survival. This is why rest can feel exhausting. Not because you are doing it wrong, but because your nervous system has not yet learned that it is allowed to power down. Healing begins when you recognize this response with compassion. Your body is not betraying you. It is protecting you in the only way it learned how. By staying ready, even when rest is finally possible. Your body finally slows down, but your mind does not follow.